and we decided then that we would like to have regular moods. So the next one we had was Linden, which we called the Linden Thing, over in Lincolnshire, just outside Boston. That was a lovely site. We used that for 4 years. We go camping there every year. And from that formed the first kin. And the first kin was a group of people that were the admins of the Facebook group, and they would make decisions on where the next move would be held, and things like that. So I don't ask me why we called ourselves the kin. I wasn't there for that decision. But that's what we were called. It didn't mean anything. It was just kin in capitals. Slightly arrogant actually, but I'll talk about that in a moment. So we formed that off in 2013, and then we followed that model for a couple of years. So we would have the York moot every year, so our annual moot is up in York. Then we would have a wandering moot, which is where we would go and find places to camp. We would have another wandering moot where it would be in October, and we would hold moots in hostels and bunkhouses because nobody wants to go camping around Britain in October because it's bloody horrible. You all know if you live here. So we started doing that. And in 2015 we joined, as an official organisation, joined the Pagan and Heathen Symposium. So that was the first sort of movement we started making into the outer pagan community at large. Because obviously heathenry is very small in comparison to things like Wicca and Druidry, so we still have quite a long way to go, but we're getting there. We're growing pretty fucking fast now, so it's a positive thing to see. So yeah, we had 3 moots again since then, and then under the chairman at the time, Pippa Hall, so I think a lot of you know Pippa or have met Pippa at Asgardian. She had the brainchild with Phil Parkin that we would hold a festival. Now there had only been one festival to knowledge since before the inception of Asgardian, and that was Eden Fest in 2005, I think, in Peterborough. I don't know the event organisers, but I know Pete Jennings, who's giving the talk, actually spoke there, so did Jenny Blaine. So I don't know what success there was. I haven't ever seen any pictures of it, but we would like to say that Asgardian was one of the first big festivals that was held. And that was funded by AUK, because as you guys know, we do sell merchandise, we do write books and things like that, and we use all those funds, we stick them into a big pot, we just forget about it until we need it, so we can pump it back into the community when we need it. So we funded Asgardian, and that was a wonderful success. We had hundreds of meetings appear, came from different parts of the world, and we had a wonderful time. We first heard Hinderfjord for the first time, and they were a revelation, and they went from strength to strength over in Sweden. And it was a really good time. So we had Asgardian every year for that for 4 years. After Asgardian 2, we decided that we still weren't ready as an organisation to be holding big events like this. The committee who run AUK are all volunteers. Nobody gets paid for any of the work they do, and it is, I can tell you, a full-time job on top of another full-time job that we're all running. Okay, so running a festival of that magnitude needed to just have the keen experience and expertise of a small group of people. So it went with Red Raven Productions, which was Pippa Hall's own personal events organisation, and she started running it. Sadly, Asgardian crashed in 2019. I think it was something to do with finances, because the cost of these events is significant. You know, getting big tents and things, renting them out, paying for bands, getting your staff in for free, ticketing, all of those things come into it. And if you don't have the funds to do it, then it's a massive uphill struggle. So it was gutting that that's what happened, because Asgardian was something that became just phenomenal for me. It was my event of the year that I look forward to the most. You know, it's the time that I feel like where I'm supposed to be at all times, because I've got all my friends and family around me, people that I don't see very often, and it doesn't feel like you haven't seen them very often. It just feels like you're just literally falling straight back into that same old motion, and you walk away feeling sad because you just wish that we just lived in a big village. So, and that's what it turns into. It doesn't become really a festival; it just becomes a big working village for a little bit. So when that crashed, we had Sky and Jeff over at Ringcast Copper, and they said, well, we'll hold a festival, we'll do summer block in the summer, we've got a site, it's got a stone circle, we can use that. And then COVID hit, and we all know how that went. So AUK's moot stopped after the Jorvik moot in 2020, and then we had a little bit of silence on that, so we only had one moot that year. I have missed something, sorry. So after Asgardian in 2019, we called a thing, and we invited the chair and vice chair of vice president, sorry, of the Pagan Federation, and 2 representatives of every kindred in the country that we knew, along with representatives of the prison and pagan chaplaincy as well, with the mind of setting out the blueprints for an All Thing. Not just a festival called the All Thing, an actual All Thing, which is what we want this to be. It's going to occur every 9 years. We're going to have planning meetings and discussions. We're going to get community feedback from all of you. So we did that on a smaller scale. So we got everybody involved. We had presentations given to them similar to this, but we also were doing it in a house. So we had a big widescreen TV that we were able to show you lots of goofy pictures of us and things that we've done over the years. Like I said, I did look like a weasel as a kid. I had no beard. I was very thin. I was all over. So I've come a long way with the beard too. So we held the thing, and from that we came up with the idea that not only were we going to host an All Thing, but we were also going to be able to show you physically that we had plans in place and how far we've come with those plans. And so was born the Supportable Bay project. So we don't have land yet. Okay, it's something that we will one day have. On my grave we will have land. Okay, and we will be able to host festivals for the pagan community and the heathen community at large throughout the year, and it'll be significantly cheaper because it will be our land. But because we don't have that already, we don't have a permanent home, a permanent sacred space. But what you've all seen from Asgardian and from your own kindred roots, if you're in kindred, what do you do when you rock up to a place for a weekend? You build a bay. You put your gods there. You have your place that becomes your sacred place. So we wanted to be able to do that on a national scale, somewhere that we could travel and bring things around for everybody. So we started with the Supportable Bay project, and we commissioned our first god host. We did that by creating a poll on Facebook, asking you all to vote on which god you want to vote for first. And of course it was Odin. So that then led to the first step of our new event structure, which was Grimnism, where we actually centred the entire weekend celebrating that god, and we consecrate the place publicly in front of everybody. And we did that for 2-fold reasons. Kindreds will have budding spiritual leaders that appear within those kindreds. They tend to be elected. Most kindreds are elected. It's an important part of the democracy that heathenry seems to be centred around, where you don't choose to be something your community chooses you to be. It's a great honour to be considered as such, but it also means that we all have to help each other and teach each other things. So it was a great experience for Gothar and Geithar of different kindreds to come together and spend time at a god place, because we'd never consecrated a god place before. We had no writings about what we could do or how we should do it. We've had fierce debates about some of the things that we should be doing and whether it's going to work. Some of you will experience this tomorrow. Hopefully in time you will all experience different things that help you grow spiritually and learn more. So it was a really good educational tool there. Which leads into another core culture of what AUK has been sort of inscribing into people, is that we aren't here to control heathenry. Okay, we are here to facilitate it for you guys. So you guys can tell us what it is that is a good idea, if you need. We can sit down and have a think about how we can make those things happen, how we can make your dreams come true, like we make our own come true. So that is part of it. It's not about any one individual. It's not about the fact that Rich is the chairman, or that Dan is our secretary, or that I'm the project events organiser. It's about you guys and what you guys want and need, and how we can make that happen, and how we can make things solid, build those foundations nice and strong. So the Grimnism Moot was a massive success. We sold out tickets. We actually oversold tickets, and the Dunals Moot hopefully next year is also going to be a big one. Freya obviously is going to be the god host that we're consecrating tomorrow. From that, we decided to change our name from the Kin to the Committee. So I'm going to apologise to you for the fact that we called ourselves the Kin. I don't know why that happened. I wasn't there for that discussion. But what it actually turned out was that once me and Dan had a chat, we were like, we should really think about changing our name, because it doesn't stand for anything. And we had a little think. We were like, well, what can KIN stand for? And we could think of, if you like, King in the North, but that made no sense. So we had a conversation about it, and we realised that we couldn't really find that would make any sense from a heathen context. So we had a chat, and we said, does anybody actually mind if we change it? And unanimously, the entire community, God, you said that. We've been having this problem for years and trying to figure out what it means and why we've got it. So we just changed it to the Committee. Okay? So So that's a brief rundown of what modern heathenry has become and what AUK has done in that time. And what's really wonderful to see is that in that time, off of people talking together, people working together, people getting together, we've seen kindreds form, like the ancestors of the future, separately entirely, without needing any inspiration, or probably some inspiration from somewhere, but from just the necessity and need and want to be around other heathens. We've seen the Confederation of Heathen Kindreds form, which was formed by a few of us back in 2017, and we formed that because conversations were had where people would say, how do I form my own AUK kindred? How do I form an Asatru UK kindred? And we said, well, we don't want to do that. We don't want to, it's a ball ache to try and sort of moderate and see what's being taught in these meetings and things like that. It also kind of goes against the whole understanding that we have of heathenry, that it just grows organically, heathens and pagans grow out of the ground, as it were. So we just said, okay, well, let's put together a loose organisation of kindreds that have their representatives involved, and they can hold yearly meetings and make decisions themselves on the kindred level, so that they don't feel like there's anybody sort of being big brother over it. And then we've just let it fly. And they've become a close, wonderful allied organisation that's worked really, really well with us. You know, the Port Debate project wouldn't be a part of it today if it wasn't for them bringing their staves, their own representations. You can see the banner walk starting to take shape. Okay, so that's heathenry is coming together in a really, really wonderful way. On a personal level, what it's done for me, and what I want it to do for all of you, is that it's given me a sense of belonging that I never had as a kid. I always felt weird or strange or different because I was obsessed with Lord of the Rings, I was obsessed with medieval stuff, anything swords and fighting, and anything to do with mysterious, unexplainable religions. Like, I was like, where did the gods go? Like, they don't just go away, they can't just disappear. Like, we've got this one boring god that's always with you forever, eternally. That can't be right. And apparently he loves me, but yet bad things happen to people. So I'm like, it doesn't really sound right. And so then I came to heathenry and I understood from my readings that the gods probably don't care that much about us, but if they do, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. You might get a good thing, you might get a bad thing, you know, just sort of be nice to them and hope they're nice to you. And well, that makes a lot more sense because that's more in tune with reality. So I went down that route. And from that point, I had an identity and I had something that to me was mine. It was who I am. When I was 19 years old, I was going through a very rough, turbulent period. I was an angry young man. My grandfather had died, so he was a very strong influence in my life. And I went down the far right rabbit hole. I was attending English Defence League demonstrations. I was mucking around Tom Robinson and other people. When I started coming to AUK and going to meet with them and talking about that with people, I wasn't shunned. I wasn't made to feel like I was an evil, horrible man. Instead, what they did is they worked really hard to sort of show me a different outlook, and that that's not the right way to look at how you coexist alongside other people. Demonstrating and shouting and abusing people for no real reason just because you're an angry young man is not the right way to go about it. You can channel your own inner strength in a much more positive way that helps more people. And Yoan McCarthy, Pippa Hall, Phil Parkin, Jeff Miles, Rich Blackett spent an incredible amount of time working on me to make me realise that I had some good in me that I could actually perpetrate out to other people. So that's what it's done for me, and I think that's what it can do for other people too. I think that what we can do is we can help each other, we can work together, and we can build something fantastic and wholesome and real and organic. All this is organic. You know? All the things that we have built, all the things that we've commissioned using AUK funds, has gone straight to other heathens, goes to other pagans. Money, you don't go to Amazon, you don't order things off of Amazon and go, yeah, make us a blog post, mate, yeah, £1,000 a day. It goes straight into Bezos' pocket. No, it goes back into the community. Revein it back in there so that it keeps pumping right into the community. So that's what it's done for me on a personal level. At the thing, I asked questions to the kindreds, what they would like me to cover when I talk about the committee. So I'm just going to bring those up now. So, who are the committee and what is it? So, we're not the high priests and the high Gothi and the high Geethia or the Volva or the Sailor Nana. I mean, some of us are Gothi and some of us are in certain positions within our own kindred, but we're not that to you guys. We don't want to be seen as that to you guys. We have official roles because we eventually intend to become a charity, and you need to have those roles. So you have projects and events, you have a secretary, you have a chairman. But what we really are is we're just a group of friends that work really hard and try to get things going. Our main role is to just organise events to get you guys to come and enjoy yourselves for a weekend and have lots and stumbles. So at the moment we're set up, there's about 14 of us, so we've got 2 elders, that's Jeff and Phil, who I'm sure you'll see later on. We've got Rich Backett as our chair, Tony Wilson from Yorkshire Heathens, she's our treasurer, she's the one that tells us that we can't spend money.
How much?
Yeah, exactly, how much? And we beg her anyway. We've got Dan Coltis, who's our wonderful secretary. He deals with all our legal work and making sure that all our language is correct and just sort of helping us out as we go towards chairman. He also actually works incredibly hard for his own kindred, the Pagan Federation, and about several other projects that he's working on as well as going to university. So yeah, very, very busy man. We have Johan McCarthy, who's our spiritual advisor. He's not here, unfortunately. You'd all love him. He's really, really tall. But mind you, most of you are, because I'm really, really small. He's having a baby, so he's not here this weekend. That's what I said. I said, how dare you? I said, put it back in there. We have Johnny Murphy as our merchandising officer. We have Jules McKinnon as our female spiritual advisor. Events and projects, that's me. And events and projects at Sky as well, from Green Class Copper just over there. We have our membership and website officer, Josh Harris. He does a lot of behind the scenes work. He's making sure our website's up and running, making sure that e-tickets are available. Christian Lewin Petrov is our marketing. So at the beginning of the Yule thing, you'd have just seen me posting a load of stuff, and then suddenly you got all these wonderful snazzy pictures and all these like really descriptive imagery and stuff like that. That was all Christian. Christian came on for us about 6 months ago. He's worked exceptionally hard to make this as digestible for you as possible, and unfortunately he's got long COVID, so he's not able to come either, which is a real shame because he's put in so much work. And we also have a publications officer, Hamish Cronin. So you guys might know Hamish. He's the leader of the Essex and Hearts Kindred, which is my lot. He's responsible for all the books and the projects that we've been moving forward with that. So we've got some more in the pipeline. That's actually going to be another discussion that we're going to be having when we hold the actual thing, where you guys can ask us questions as a panel, and we can give you better answers, and we can write down all your suggestions and things so that we can then go away and see how we can make that happen. And we all support each other in our positions, and it's not unusual to find us working on other people's projects with them and helping them in whatever it is that they need. It really is just a smaller group of people that are just there trying to make things come together. And we have some fucking ferocious rows, I tell you. No decision that has been made that you see us making officially has been made lightly. It has been fought tooth and nail. Every single possible argument that you could imagine. Yeah, I can see you two looking at each other going, yeah, I know that feeling. Yeah. When Dan came on, he said some people have noticed that there's like 3 or 4 members of the Essex and Hearts Kindred on the committee, and I was like, yeah, that's more to do with the fact that they just fit the role that we and they applied for. We advertised their roles. I'll talk about that in a minute as well. But as I said, the truth is, Dan, and you'll figure this out very quickly, is that we actually fight with each other more than anybody else, and we do. All do. So that's who we are. I like this one. So what can we achieve with the numbers that we have in apparent support? Well, the answer is, what can't we achieve? I mean, seriously, what can't we achieve? Can you guys think of anything that if we all worked together we couldn't do? Because if you tell me, I will make it happen in my lifetime. Okay.
The moon.
Yeah, easy. Easy. We'll just convert the whole world. It's fun. But seriously, if there are no projects I foresee that we can't tackle, okay? And I even have a positive view that eventually, if we keep going the way we're going as a community, we keep working together, we will eliminate folkish ideology eventually. We will, okay? Because the idea and culture around what we're building of inclusiveness and of happiness is a bloody good one, and it's worth fighting for without actually having to fight. Because you don't need to fight for it if you just show it in your everyday deeds. If you live your life in the positive, welcoming and happy manner that we have been going at for the last 9 years, I promise you, that ideology will die on its legs. It already is. okay? And we're just gonna keep going in the direction we come. And some people will come on board. Some people will come and say, I think I've been a bit of a fool, and you say, well, yeah, you have, but you know what? We've all been young and angry. I've been young and angry. I've been stupid. I've made mistakes. I'm sure all of you have made mistakes and done things you regret. Doesn't matter. It's about what we do in the future. Become your deeds. Don't become your words. Become your deeds. Okay. So the final bit is, will the committee become electable in the future? The short answer to that is yes. There is a long-term plan for AUK's committee to become an electable thing. How we do that, we don't know. It's a conversation that's going to be a long thought out one. At the moment, as a community, the size just isn't there for us to be able to do that, because if you lose 2 or 3 people that are really solid doers and you replace it with somebody who's just really popular, we've tried this, and what will happen is that they'll just sit on their laurels and things won't move forward. Okay, so we want to be a democratically led organisation. To do that at the moment, we need to build that structure up. So we're a bit of a way off of there, but it is coming and it will happen. Okay, a good model of how it might work is how the Confederation works at the moment, but I don't know. I know that the Troth has had some success over the years where they have electable positions, but they've been going for a much longer period of time than Asatru UK has. So there is a plan for that to happen. I'm not sure when we'll be able to make it happen, but I mean, if we keep having events like this, we keep meeting up, we keep talking, we keep the dialogue flowing, it can come quicker than you think. So that's it really. On a final note, I would just say that I want you to have a think over the weekend about where you were 9 years ago, or where you were 5 years ago, and where you were spiritually, what place you were at, and the things that have influenced you, and the things that you've positively taken from it, and the things that you can push forward, and what that might be able to look like if you were to help other people with that too. But some people want to come to events, but they're by themselves. There's a chap called Liam. Are you here? Yeah, it is. Liam, you've come up by yourself, haven't you? Yeah. Took the plunge. Great fella. Love it when this happens, but you'll make so many friends now. Okay, other people that I know. Bradley, you came up by yourself last year, didn't you? Yeah. Yeah. Still here. Okay.
Yeah, we can't get rid of him.
Yeah, I'm trying. I was like, yeah, get the train up. Get the train up. I'll come pick you up. Yeah. But that's it. Think about the things that made you think to yourself, I just need to just get out there and just do it and live in that moment, okay? And how that we can make that happen for other people, okay? Because we're not converting people. You're not going to see any of us standing on a corner with a little travel Havamol going, oh, have you read this? This is great. We're not going to do that, okay? It's not what we're about. We're victims of that attitude, trust me. If any community in the world is a victim of that conversion attitude, it's our life. So I want you to think about where you were 9 years ago, where you were 5 years ago spiritually, and what you want to be able to regurgitate back out for people to use without throwing up on them, of course. And that's it for me. This is the first time I've done anything like this, and it's been an honour. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes. Just a couple of things I'd like to say. At the start, you mentioned the popularity of Wicca and Druidry. I think it's important to remember, Wicca's pretty much New Age.
Yeah.
Druidry, as it's understood by most people, was made up by the Victorians.
Yeah, no, totally.
And then, which means, you know, they've not got an awful lot to stand on.
They don't. Well, no, and that's, I think one of the big pulls towards heathenry is that we do have a lot of lore still that has survived, and we also have a lot of archaeological evidence, because Wicca is largely based on Celtic sort of stuff. They give it a Celtic tinge, don't they? And yeah, I agree with you on the Druidry thing, but I mean, at the end of the day, the message that they're preaching is good, and I'm not going to be one to tell people that they're doing it wrong or right. If it suits them and they're harming no one, then there's no problem and they're welcome here. But yeah, I know what you mean. I understand it. Yeah, when it first started, you know, even more importantly, we have to remember that we've had like 1,000 years of no paganism at all. So we're still constantly adding bits and seeing where it fits. It's like a massive jigsaw. It's like a huge jigsaw that we're just looking at going, well, this bit fits in here nicely, and that looks nice, and that looks good, and that goes there. Well, okay, these two bits don't properly fit together, but it looks pretty, you know. So there is that attitude. But you see that a lot in heathenry as well. We are seeing a lot. You do see a little bit of pick and mix heathenry going on. some of it is purposely, because you know we had a chap that was saying that you can't be vegan and heathen. And I was just like, well, I think you can. You know, that you definitely can. So I think that comes back down to the thing that I said at the beginning, where if the gods call you, it doesn't really matter whether or not somebody else's opinion thinks you can or can't. But yeah, those are new age things. But I think also heathenry in its own right is a bit more new age than we would like to think. We can change that, of course we can. You know, there's nothing to stop us changing that. We have the information is becoming more and more readily available. And, you know, you've got to just think about how we want to put that into a modern context, because I guarantee you a load of the older religions, well, we are an old religion, definitely got ancient gods, but a lot of the other religions have also been getting rid of bits and bobs here, putting bits in here, you know, like, for instance, let's celebrate Jesus' birth in December, you know, so if they can do it, so can we. Yeah, anything else?
Not celebrate Jesus' birth in December.
Yeah.
Checking this bag when he leaves.
Well,
Make sure it's
right, all good. Fantastic. Yes, mate.
Something that I think, and this is why I hadn't attended anything sooner. On the outside, Asatru UK, it, obviously because of the name, people naturally assume it's an Asatru organisation, and I stayed clear. And I even messaged you about it and stayed clear because of that. And maybe there's a way of reaching out and explaining that it's not only Asatru that are welcome. It's because it wasn't yesterday. Like, it was beautiful yesterday, but yeah.
It's marketing that really. Even since its initial conception, it just stuck, and the branding just is snazzy. It is mainly that most people that come to heathenry don't find heathenry first. They find the word Asatru, and they think, oh, that's a cool word. I was like, oh, that's a cool word. Yeah, Asatru. Yeah. So then I went and joined the Asatru groups first, and then you come into heathenry. So even before Asatru, I was pagan, and I have a feeling a lot of you guys would have gone pagan, Asatru, oh heathen, and then stuck there because that's the one that fits the most as an umbrella term overall. Yeah, we have had conversations in the past about a possible name change. We have had discussions.
I just mean some way of reaching out and letting people know that you don't have to be Asatru to be welcome, because that can be off-putting when the initial seeing Asatru. Yeah. I think, oh well, I'm not Asatru, so.
Well, that's actually really simple. We can just change that as this is welcome to everyone. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's definitely something that we'll make a note of. But yeah, that's the reason why that happens. Is that most people that come to it come through that, or they end up going to the Odinist Fellowship first. Yeah, which is a bit of an eye opener if you go to their temple. Not a high so yeah, okay.
I can happily say our fears have sort of been quelled.
Yeah, we were really worried because you see a lot of Asatru things on TikTok, and it's all, we're going to save Odinism, and we were like, oh, I really hope there's no political Odinists there.
No,
first thing I heard was, fucking Odinist dickheads. The American
Asatru community is very obstinate. They just do not budge on anything.
You've not met the theatre yet, have you?
I don't think I want to.
You think the American Asatru are bad? You won't see me today, and I'm saying that on camera. If you're looking for good content to follow on YouTube for people to know, from Ocean Keltor is very good. Ocean Keltor is very good. So is Arif McGrath. Who else was doing really good videos? Zach McBride, who runs the Norse Pagan server or Discord server. He does some really good videos as well. Anything by Tom Rouse will Don't Touch the Barge.
What's the Theodish?
Okay, Theodism.
Got an hour.
Theodism. It's like Orthodox heathenry, so they are book-learned heathens. They recommend the 6 same books every time. I've read most of them. It's Grombeck's Culture of the Teutons, which they wield religiously, a piece of horse liver, the Lady with the Meat Cup. They've got a few books that they stick. They've got a few books that they read, and
some of them are good, some of them are not.
Books, but some of them were written by the Victorians. Like Culture of the Teutons, Grombeck's. It's very, very. If you've ever read, well, anything German from that era tends to have a very sort of Germanic focused. See his chiseled muscles, see the strong German man walking. So it's very much like that. And what he's really doing is trying to fill gaps in that he sees in the Eddas and the Hannibal, to sort of speculate that. Well, this could mean this, and from that came Innengard and Utengard, the idea of that you have an inner and an inner tribe and an outer tribe, and the opinions of the outer tribe doesn't matter, which is basically just an excuse to be a dick to people online, which is what they're quite well renowned for doing. But Theodism, they believe that they're the true heathens. They have a king, they have an actual king, his name is Garmin Lord. They have theodes instead of kindreds, and you sell yourself to the theode. So you would go into thraldom as a spiritual practice. You would sell your worth for a penny to the theode, and you become, by default, a thrall to them. So they can ring you at any time and ask you to do something. You have to do it. They also believe that the only way to practice blot is animal sacrifice. So they do live animal sacrifices over there. They don't believe in knots. Well, no, they do believe in knots. They don't believe in knots in a vey, so you can't walk into a vey with knots and crosses and things, which makes no sense if you're wearing clothes. So there are a few things, but that's what Theodism is. It's very Anglo-Saxon orientated. As far as I'm aware, we have about 3 pages of stuff that we know from Anglo-Saxon heathenry that has survived since the last time it was being properly practiced. So there's a lot of gaps filled in there. That's Theodism. Yeah, you can find them online and stuff. They come across very knowledgeable without any exception for anybody else to have opinions. Or you could ask a question on some of their groups and they'll just rip you apart for asking that question. They won't answer it or try and help you. So yeah, that's what Theodism is. I think there is a theode in Birmingham. I think that there is actually 1 or 2 around the UK.
You got it. I remember you mentioned earlier about possibly building a temple.
Yeah, the long-term aim is to build a temple.
How much is the temple going to cost to build?
I have no idea. If any of you know who Austin Lawrence is, he runs is it Ravens Knoll in Canada?
He's got a great meme page as well.
Yeah, he does have a great meme page
He
as
has
well.
the best meme page I've ever seen. So if you haven't seen his meme page, find Austin. Is it the Dank Heathen Meme Stash? Or the Heathen Meme Hall or what?
Yeah.
You'll find it. It'll come up with Oz's stash. And if you don't know heathenry, you see that, you're like, well, what the hell is this gibberish? But if you see heathenry, you will be in hysterics for whatever. There's thousands of them. And he creates them. But he also runs the largest pagan and heathen gathering in Canada. They have an offering that is 1,000 people. And they have a permanent vey on their land. And he did an interview with Ocean Kelton to describe what it is they do. And they said that they haven't built a temple because they still can't justify its use for doing it. So when I say that we're not ready for certain things, we're definitely not ready for a temple. We want a temple. It's my personal life goal. Like, I know that that's why I'm here. I know that's what my role is to do, is to make sure that we have something that we can call our own. And I imagine it would look something like a stave church in Scandinavia, but probably it would be decorated with all the banners of all the kindreds of the UK, because it wouldn't just be AUK would fund it and AUK would take the charge on it, but it wouldn't be an AUK temple. You might see some of our logos here and there, but it would be no different to that banner walk you see going up to there. To do that, we would need to buy land and we would need to justify its use, which is why we would work closely with the Pagan Federation and we would work closely with other organisations too, because there's just not that many of us yet. There will be more. We're still seeing 2nd generation heathens emerging now, 3rd generation heathens if you're really lucky. So it is coming slowly. Our job as the moment is we're at the tip of the sword. And when I say our job, I mean your job, not just the organisation. It's your job to build that more. Okay, so that we have that need. Because eventually, I got married in a church. I didn't get married in a Christian church. I just got married in a church that is used by Christians and that. But we got married by a registrar. But I would have loved to have had a heathen wedding. But my wife is a muggle, so she said well, we're going to get married this way. So I said that's fine. But I did get quotes from the Silmarillion in my wedding ring, so I was happy. And if you hear Ewan McCarthy speak from the Silmarillion, you're like, oh my god, it's amazing. So yeah, it's not just gibberish that I can't understand. So the temple is a long-term goal. It may not happen until I'm a very old man, but it will happen. But before that, we will have land, and that is much easier for us to get. We can get land, then we can have camps on it. If you guys have kindreds and we're looking for somewhere to camp, ring us up, go, can we use the campsite on these dates? So you can't, Yorkshire's booked it out. Oh right, well can we rock up at the same time as them? So yeah, that's fine. So we need a central place, and then when we've done that, well we're going to need another, so we'll just keep going like that.
Thank you.
I'm always online to talk. I'm literally always online to talk. I have my phone on all the time, so if you ever need to just pick my brains for stuff, you're more than welcome to. You'll find me running around like a blue ass fly all weekend. Alright. Good. Well, my sail.
So,
Oh, you're gonna have to clap twice. Oh.